The NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards.
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner, the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Colin Thompson Show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Jack Connell, Colin Thompson, hanging out with you today. July 1. When they say time flies, Jack, time flies, my friend. We are officially in July, which for everybody means holidays and summer vacation. But for myself and my wife, that means our baby's coming this month, which is really cool and exciting and new for us. Obviously, we're new parents, about to be. So that's exciting. We're looking forward to it. Everyone's healthy, everyone's happy, and everyone's excited for what's next. So without further ado, let's start the show. Jack, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Feels like NBA free agency is sort of hitting its peak, a little past it. So that's been enjoyable. I know NHL free agency has been on absolute steroids.
Whose?
I think NHL's has been on steroids.
NHL's rolling. We're going to get into that in the show.
Yeah, I think I saw 50-some signings or something in the first hour.
They're rolling. The NHL is peaking, and they're doing a great job with it, which is very rare of them to do. But continue, Jack. What else? You got a little NBA? I know Paul Judge. I love that move.
I mean, I did love the move. You gave me so much crap about it, but
I didn't give you crap about it. I like the move too. I forget Joel's 30. I think it's now. You got to win. You got a 2-year window.
The best way I could sort of explain it to you when you talk about age is if you had a team, it's literally almost essentially like in football terms, if you had a win now team that was missing a final piece in the offensive line, would you give Jason Kelce a 4-year, $100 million contract knowing you're just pretty much paying for those 2 years? Yeah, because that's the best way to put it in your terms, because Jason Kelce, you and I both know, is dominant until his last snap, 35 years old. Paul George, 34 years old. That's sort of the best way I could put it in my mind in football terms.
That was really good. For a guy who wants to be, Mr. Producer, not in front of the camera, pretty good stuff, Jack. Maybe you should clip it and put it on your social media so I don't have to tell people how great you are. Instead of they could just go to your social media and see how great you are. But that's neither here nor there. That's a private matter I'm bringing right to the forefront of the show. What'd you do this weekend, Jack? Now, you went up to the mountains, huh?
Yes, my friend has moved out to the middle of Pennsylvania, and so we had a nice little friend retreat up there for the weekend, which was nice. Got to relax a little bit, hang out, be around the friends, so it was nice.
That's cool. What'd you guys do?
Just hung out by the pool, just relaxed a little bit, nothing really interesting of any sorts.
Okay, that's it. Okay, nothing fun, nothing to report, nothing to go on. I went to Cape May, New Jersey for a quick, and I mean quick, 24 hours. Less than that, really. But went there. The legendary Ed Foley had a really nice kind of reunion amongst tight ends. About 15 of us from our Temple days were invited, maybe 20, I don't even know, plus other players. But only 5 of us showed up, and that was okay. We had a great time. Went to the great Seaview Inn, historic place that we've talked about many times on this institution, if you will, the Colin Thompson Show, the Seaview. And it was a great time seeing old friends. It's really hard to get back together the older you get. Everybody always says that, but until you're actually old and 30 like me, you just don't have time, and you have other priorities in your life, and it sucks, and that's a part of growing up. But we're officially at that stage now where it's hard to get together. So for Coach Foley and his time, he gets 3-4 weeks off a year. That's about it. He works 7 days a week the rest of the year, being a college football coach, to do that. And saw Coach Rule, saw some great former teammates and friends of mine, and was able to get down to Cape May, which is funny. The weather in Cape May is tremendous in the summer, and I know that maybe it sounds like an obvious thing. Yeah, sure, beach town. It was 70 degrees. In Annapolis, it was 95. Bucks County, it was 95. It was 70. And beautiful fog rolling in. I had a great time. So shout out to the Fudge Kitchen, Jack. FudgeKitchens.com. They ship fudge and sweet treats around the country. They are pumping fudge, guys, out of those doors. So we appreciate everyone on this show supporting the original Fudge Kitchen. You support them. That shows you're supporting us. Their online sales, guys, they are crushing it. And they're busy, man. They're really busy. And that is really testament to 50 years of service. Pretty cool. We gave away 4 tickets, Fudge Kitchen this weekend for the Joe Conklin show. That was really unique. He's a great comic and an absolute great guy to work with too. So Fudge Kitchen's doing some really cool stuff. Marketing. Obviously, they're very fortunate. We're very fortunate for them to sponsor our show. So check them out, guys. It's a great way to do something different. We're all writing thank you letters, or at least we should be. I try to be better with it. We're all sending gifts for birthdays and all that stuff now. Fudge Kitchen, check them out. FudgeKitchens.com. Use them as the person to give a gift for a birthday present. Saltwater taffy, chocolate covered strawberries are incredible. Absolutely love the Fudge Kitchen. And then we're very fortunate to also work with Boiron Arnicare, homeopathic way to manage pain, being sick, being uncomfortable, allergies. Every time I'm having a couple drinks and yelling and hooting and hollering with friends, I lose my voice. And it is rapidly better after a day of fun and eating wings and drinking beer. Down in Cape May, usually my voice is shot the next day. But no, not with Arnicare, not with their product that dissolve a couple tablets underneath your tongue and you are good to go. The hand cream's awesome. The pain relieving stuff's great. It's a great product that I've been really fortunate to use on a daily basis. Wish I had it my entire career because, man, I was doing a lot of other stuff to feel a lot better back in the day that probably wasn't as good for me. So homeopathic care, great for pain, stress, sleep, you name it. Arnicare, Boiron Arnicare, check them out. Natural way to cure anything you're dealing with. All right, Jack, lots to talk about on the show today. I'm not doing guests. We have a lot of great guests coming up. Really excited for a lot of really unique interviews. But I want to just chat with you and I these last couple of weeks. It's been fun to break things down. Okay, so Jack, any thoughts on this Bronny James thing? I want to hear your thoughts first, and then I want to give mine.
I don't like it, but it's and Adrian Wojnarowski brought up a great point. I believe, or it was Adrian Wojnarowski or Brian Windhorst, I forget which, saying this is an example of nepotism, but don't act like it's the first time nepotism's happened in the NBA's history. I mean, the New York Knicks are literally nepotism galore. Like, it's in Leon Rose and Jalen Brunson connection. The entire team's literally the power of friendship. They just emptied the clip to continue the power of friendship. But it's just, I don't really like. I mean, Bronny James could be a decent player. He was very much didn't really have a good chance at USC just because he had that awful heart situation that took out so much time, and he was rusty coming back. He was off the bench. He was literally if you look at it from just a wide-eyed lens, he was a backup 6-man point guard at USC who played half a season and averaged 4 points a game. He was not a drafted caliber player whatsoever. But granted, this is the worst NBA draft in quite some time, and it was the 55th pick. I do not like how Rich Paul went about doing this. I don't think it was right whatsoever. You have LeBron James talking one side out of his mouth saying he doesn't want to play this on whatsoever, despite reports. The other end, you have, this is Bob Myers reporting this, by the way, the former GM of the Golden State Warriors, created the greatest dynasty in modern basketball, saying that Rich Paul was going around the team saying, if you are not the Lakers or Suns, do not draft Bronny James or else he's going to play in Australia. Mm-hmm. That is the type of stuff I don't like. He has his full rights to do that whatsoever as a player and as a person. I don't like that for this. It makes it scream that LeBron James wants to play with his son no matter what, because I think that's the best chance he's going to give his son to succeed, because I think other teams would only be drafting him to lure LeBron there, and they would give him a slight chance, and then they would see who he is as his current state of player and cut him or put him in the G League. This is nothing against Bronny. He could develop maybe to a slight bench player, but he just doesn't have the tools, and LeBron putting him in LA is giving him all the resources possible and time possible to actually become a legitimate NBA player.
Yeah, he brings some great points up. There's a lot to unpack there. One, for Rich Paul, did a great job doing his job for his client. When you're going to need an agent one day, Jack, because you'll be such a big producer, a big on-air personality, you're going to be thanking your agent for doing certain things like what Rich Paul did to make sure, hey, what do you want, LeBron? What do you need in your career? That's what good agents do. I want my son to play with me. Got it. From a father perspective, you nailed it. Not a better situation for his son to develop in LA, where you have all of the basketball needs you need. I'll say, let's just say franchise-wise, unpack that. What a great franchise. What a great facility. Every resource you need to have success. This isn't, other organizations around the NBA that may not be as big as the ones you can think of on the I-95 Northeast corridor, or the one you can think of on the West Coast, or maybe a handful of others like Dallas, right? That really, really dump a lot of resources into players. One thing we've talked about on this show ad nauseum is how every NFL franchise is not the same. They're not the same. They are not the same. The way they treat players, the salary cap's the same, but the way they treat players and how they feed them, and the training and the time off and the rest and the opportunity post-career, you name it. Look at what Dallas does for their players when they leave Dallas. They all work for Fox. They all make a ton of money. Dak Prescott made the same amount of money working with every Ford dealership in Dallas. That's the type of stuff the Lakers do. So from a dad perspective, from LeBron's perspective, from someone who's about to be a father, you do anything you physically can for your children. And the pictures of him being a dad with that little boy on his shoulders when he's winning playoffs, it's really funny. Like, LeBron has a really bad stigma around him for being an all-time great. Like, he does. He does. Like, some people love him, some people hate him, but like, I don't know if Jordan ever had that, did he? I think everyone just really respected Jordan, thought he was a baller. They may have hated him from he plays for the Bulls, not my Lakers or Celtics, but like we would be applauding that. And now it's like,
Yeah.
And I get it. And a lot of it has to do with your points, Jack, of like, hey, was this guy a lottery pick? So I'll wrap up and I'll pass it back to you. But from a dad perspective, from LeBron, he did the best thing for his son, got him to the Lakers. You're right. Longevity and first-class franchise. From an agent perspective for Rich Paul, you did your job. From a perspective from the son, you know what? He did what he could with what he had. And listen, when they talk about nepotism, this is what we call business. It's not nepotism. It's all the same thing. I get it. This is just big business. This is no big deal. This is nothing, right? I just pulled this up. I just Googled it really quick. I looked up what's the success rate of an NBA draft pick? We find, this is Bruin Sports Analyst, okay? We find the average all-star rate for lottery picks is 27%, with the rest of the first round to be 7%. And entering the second round, it appears somewhat of a random and sparse is only about 2%. So, again, if he's a great bench player, it's probably a win. If he's all-star, it's a massive win. Does he have great intangibles? From what I hear, his wingspan's massive. Does he have great athletic ability? Of course. Is he probably going to play down in the different leagues and then be able to play with LeBron? And then maybe LeBron has a swan song and then he works his way up from the G League up through. Who knows? But this is normal stuff. People didn't even really make a big deal about it, in my opinion. It's a much bigger deal than it is. And it's a credit to that kid, his hard work, that family. Let's not lose fact, like Lonzo Ball or whatever, big baller brand. They were the most talked about family in basketball. All of the kids went to primetime colleges for education. They all got college paid for. Like, they all have big marketing deals. They all are bigger names than probably they should be because of their dad. So, like, everybody wants everyone to be quiet and be like the way they are and get off my lawn type folks, but everybody does it differently. And from everything I know with Ball and then LeBron, seems like great dads, great families that raise great human beings that get an opportunity to play in the NBA. Yeah, sure. Did he average 50 points a game in college basketball? No. And that's this business. This is a business move. So it's an interesting move. There's so much to unpack there, but to me, doesn't really move the needle for me of like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's like, yeah, we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, as it relates to you talking about criticism of Michael Jordan, I think the biggest difference is Michael superseded every other biggest star in league history by his third championship. I mean, it's talked about a lot that he wanted that third title to have, the three-peat to have over Magic and Bird, something neither of them had. And by the end of his reign, he had 6 titles, 5 MVPs. Yeah. And I just think there was nobody.
Team. One team.
What's that? Yeah, in one team. And then you look at LeBron. LeBron was always compared to Michael Jordan because that Michael Jordan existed. And I just think it didn't help that it was an incredible feat. I think he was like 9 straight NBA finals, whatever LeBron made it to.
Unbelievable.
He went like 4.
Miami. It's incredible.
Yeah. He went 4 or 5 or 3 or 6 during that reign. And of course, any other player there, regardless of crazy in history, but he's got Michael Jordan size shadow over him. So I think that's where it came to.
It's a great point. I'll also add the world was less media politically crazy then. Now, LeBron speaks his mind on stuff, right? And half the world's going to like it, half the world's going to hate it. Where before, that stuff didn't come up. You think players didn't have opinions back then? So you bring up great points like you always do, Jack, primarily with the NBA too. You always bring up great thoughts. The NBA, the Paul George thing, you bring up great points on that too. I'm excited for it. I'll be watching Sixers again this year. I don't know. I guess a part of me, even with the Phillies, I just missed, I don't know, something about the nostalgia of the homegrown guy. Not to be like the grumpy free agency. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But there's something cool about Reese Hoskins, right? Like AAA, they bring him up. You kind of follow him. Great. Aaron Nola, I saw him throw his first pitch as a Philly, out of LSU. That was really cool. And there's no one in the stands in Philly. And credit to LeBron. And all the salary caps have gone up simultaneously, but a lot of it has to do with him. The decision and all that stuff. I mean, that changed the world. He does admit he regrets doing that. It got a lot bigger than he thought it was going to be. But at the end of the day, that man has changed the business of sports. And we're going to get into the JMU conversation here right now, but just incredible stuff. Anything else to touch on, Jack, NBA free agency wise and Bronny James stuff?
Yeah, I mean, NBA free agency wise, I think the big thing about the Sixers that fans are rightfully celebrating over it. This is the biggest free agency signing in franchise history. Like, just alone name star power. The only one that I think really comes close is Elton Brand back in like 2006, 2007.
Elton. I liked Elton.
Like, this team has never been a big, like, until recently, never been a big free agency swigger because of your point. Like, they're homegrown. Tyrese Maxey was a 20th some pick. Joel Embiid was a lottery pick. Like, Ben Simmons, even at his point, was top pick. So, I mean, they had a lot of these homegrown talent. They made trades. They traded for Jimmy Butler. They traded for Tobias Harris. I mean, even you go back in history, they traded for Dr. J. They traded for Moses Malone. They never went out and signed a big guy. And Paul George is, without question, the biggest free agent they've ever signed at that point. So I think that's a big deal in of itself.
No doubt. Great points. All right, let's switch over to the business of sports here on the Colin Thompson Show, brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services. If you don't know them, you should. WealthAdvisoryServices.com. Paul Krumenacker and their team, they sent me this over from Sport. We got to probably redo this, Shaq. We got to edit this out. Sportico. I mean, it's horrible by me. They sent me this over by Sportico. Really cool article, again, from the folks at Wealth Advisory Services. The James Madison Athletic Department spent $68 million on athletics in the fiscal 2023 and reporting funding of $53 million via mandatory student fees charged annually to every JMU student as a part of their tuition. It's by far the largest sum of any public school in the country, $23 million more than Old Dominion. JMU's undergraduate tuition, $30,000. Out of state, in state, $13,000. The mandatory student fee, which includes the totals of almost $6,000 for 2024. The fee covers a number of things: transportation services, student health initiatives, facility maintenance, but by far the biggest piece, $2,300 of it per student is earmarked for funding athletics. JMU basketball team upset Wisconsin, which was an awesome game in the first round. They had $0 in student fees. The Dukes faced Duke in the second round on Sunday, right? This is an old article, but so this is really interesting here. Not only in the 53 million tops in 2023, it's also the highest total they've seen in 6+ years, sourcing annual revenue expense reports from every public department. So they are at 53 million in student fees per year. Old Dominion 30, Charlotte 25, FIU 23, UCF 23, Georgia State, Texas, Miami, South Florida, Virginia. What stands out for you there? Well, Virginia, athletically dying. South Florida, student fees, well, they're moving in the right direction with a new stadium. Miami, Ohio, Texas State, Georgia State, UCF thriving now in the Big 12. FIU, Charlotte is on the way up. Old Dominion on the way up. So if you're one of these small schools, again, business of sports brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services. If you're one of these small schools, you should absolutely do this. Absolutely do this to fund your athletics. Why? If you're an employer and you're hiring someone, if I hand you, and this is no disrespect, because I think all the academic institutions, a lot of them are the same. If I hand you something from Penn State, or I hand you something from a Division III football school in Pennsylvania, I'm not going to say a name to disrespect any of them. The employer immediately is going to think of Penn State, even though that D3 football school may be twice the tuition and a better education. Why? Athletics. Athletics, period. If I hand you a University of Miami and say, hey, I want to go here, I went to University of Miami. First off, people think it's a bad school. It's one of the best schools in the country, but because of all the football stuff back in the day, right? Or I hand you, name a small, low-level Division I school, FAU, FIU, whatever. You think of, Miami. Whew, wow. That's big. Because of athletics, media marketing, athletics. They're the first line of marketing for schools. That's why those coaches get paid that much money. They're the top marketer for the school. Don't get it twisted. Will Muschamp was the top state employee when I was at Florida. He had 2 state troopers with him at all times everywhere he went. Why? The state pays his bill, a couple million a year. The state taxpayers pay that. So to have your students chip in a couple thousand a year to make your resume look a lot better, and at the end of the day, it all comes out in the wash. It's like 10 grand or whatever it is, or 20 grand for your time of a 4 years, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but you can go other places. You've seen what JMU is doing. Their marketing, their recruiting budgets, everything is through the roof, and they are running away with games in college football. So I would highly suggest it for any of these lower schools to at least implement it a little bit more, because if you don't have good sports and you're a big school, you're a Division I type school, why are you going there? Other than, hey, I just got in there. So business sports wise, I absolutely love this. I think it's really unique, and it's a really smart way to say, yeah, sports on everything. But when it comes to marketing and putting butts and students in our seats, paying tuition and going to school online and marketing everywhere, the best dollars you can spend are 100 football players running around with helmets on that are first class, that are winning football games. Jack, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I sort of see both sides. I've kind of gone through it, and it's just like I feel like in a roundabout way, kids have pretty much been doing this for athletic programs. Like it was a long running joke at when I went to Penn State Abington that our tuition, half of it went to James Franklin and the program. That's not necessarily true, but I mean, I pretty much feel like this has sort of been done in a roundabout way, just not officially by many schools for a long time now. So I understand it. But I mean, it's something like you sort of see the kids like, well, I have nothing to do with athletics, but I pay for it. But you see on the other hand, the athletics promote enrollment, promotes funds, promotes growth, etc. So
Yeah.
I see very much both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
And people can't like, it's almost the same thing. It's like people can't be upset that college athletes aren't getting paid when the most sensible, like roundabout way of doing it, they would like not have wanting to do. Does that make sense? Like you can't complain about wanting to pay that, but want athletes get paid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think if you're providing a service to the school, like the student athlete is, I think the bare minimum is a full scholarship. And then anything you do more than a bare minimum, you should be paid for, right? You think the team Tebow did the bare minimum at the University of Florida?
Yeah.
I think he did a little bit more than the bare minimum, right? So I'm agreeing with you, right? There's both sides,
Yeah.
right? It's easy for me to say, but I'm talking from a school marketability standpoint. If people are willing to write that check, charge them, because man, oh man, Penn State Abington's got a hell of a lot better ring to it than a lot of places because Penn State is attached to it. Why is Penn State attached to it? Well, for 75 years of Joe Paterno, they won 9 games a year. And everyone turns the TV on Saturday and says, Penn State, and where's their t-shirts around? And went, Penn State? No, my cousin went to Penn State. And this part, so it's worth it, in my opinion, right? And financially, you're smart because you go to Penn State Abington and feeder school and you pay half or a quarter of the price or whatever it was. So no, again, Paul and their team over at Wealth Advisory Services sent it to me. They say, hey, what do you think about this? Talk about this on the show. And I was like, man, it's great. You got $53 million to walk around with every year from an athletic program and help with different things to make it work. Genius. Absolutely genius. We'll move on. The NHL has done a fantastic job of just continuing from an amazing season. People are arguing one of the best regular seasons of all time. Awesome playoffs. Game 7 at home, won by the Florida Panthers. They are ripping it up in South Florida. What an amazing time they're having. What a great place. Elbow room. Awesome. The Cups in the Atlantic Ocean. They are partying their asses off. they should. To now the NHL has the NHL draft in the Sphere. That was awesome in Vegas. Then they roll into a ridiculous, huge free agency frenzy. Guys going all over the country. I mean, really, truly incredible what the NHL is doing, and they're going to capitalize on it. Watch out, MLB. Like, they're not going to touch the NFL and the NBA, but the NHL is trending in the right direction. Even for fans that are like, oh, wow, like the draft's at the Sphere? Oh, the Cup's in the Atlantic Ocean? Like, what? Free agency, like if you follow just a second of it in the NHL, like your timeline's crazy where the NBA had like 4 or 5 guys go today. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. So I thought it was interesting to see the NHL like constantly evolving. They're adding new teams. They moved to Utah. They moved to Seattle. They put a team in Vegas, right? Like you're like, wow, this team's really progressive and putting the effort in to do bigger things. Jack, for kids your age, people watching sports more, like does the NHL come across your radar more now than ever, or is just business as usual? I'm watching the NBA and I'm watching the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's business as usual, but I also think it's a little bit tough because you're seeing, at least from a local perspective, at the same point of the Stanley Cup reaching its peak, the Flyers were also starting to hit the news waves of Michkov starting to come over. Officially, he signed his ELC earlier today.
Yep.
So it's tough to sort of see from a national perspective. Obviously, fans are excited because Matvei Michkov is probably the best prospect they've had since. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're the answer. You would have to answer that question.
Long time, Jack. Really long. Claude Giroux. I mean,
yeah.
Top 10. Yeah.
So I'm just saying it's tough to gauge it because there's an excitement level around this team that I haven't seen since I was a kid, like 4th, 5th grade.
Yeah, it was really special when we were kids. So I just thought it was interesting to talk about interesting to people driving their car listening to this right now. Like, have you watched more of the NHL than normal? Maybe you haven't watched it, but like I don't watch a lot of the NBA, but I enjoy a lot of stuff around it. I enjoy the conversation around it. I enjoy the team building aspect. I enjoy who's the head coach. I enjoy the Knicks being better and bringing in the Villanova guys. Like, and here's the thing about nepotism, and we talked about this earlier. And it's got a fancy word to like, you know what? I'm bringing in my people who I trust that can get it done. We did it in Carolina. Everybody ripped Rule for bringing all the Temple guys in. Okay. Hassan Reddick, pretty damn good. Robbie Anderson, pretty damn good. Keith Kirkwood, touchdown versus the Eagles in the playoff games for New Orleans. He can play. PJ Walker, XFL MVP. He's damn good. Matt Ioannidis, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. If anybody's the outcast, it's me. And I already played in the NFL before I signed with Carolina. It's not like I was like, whatever. I was on practice squads. I was in and off rosters. I was a bottom tier and NFL tight end, which I end up still being in Carolina and getting some playing time out of it. So like you bring in people you trust and you think Bronny James is going to show up late to meetings or not work hard or not have good nutrition or not be a pro. He'll do everything right. Now other players may too, but guess what? Their last name's not James. So I'm interested in it. And at the end of the day, sometimes, right, the Marines say, I'd rather have someone who's got no skill but trust through the roof than someone with all the skill and no trust. So it's like, seriously, Jack, are there better, this is an example for our media company, are there better video makers in the country and social media people than you?
I mean, the humble side of me would say probably, like somebody who works for like ESPN,
even that. Like take Georgia and Luke. People work for our company. They got cameras. They got this. They got all the new technology, the fancy gadgets, the toys. Are there better hosts than me? Absolutely. But you and I have trust and respect, and we put the show out in 30 seconds. Boom, we roll it. You got social media. You got 10 clips out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I trust you, right? But there's probably people at ESPN, right, that do a better job. But that's not a slight at you. That's just any business, right? Because trust is worth way more than skill, way more. So, no, I thought that was interesting from the LeBron thing. And then I want to touch on one more thing as we wrap up here. Just a quick one. Paul George. Oh, I really enjoy talking about some coaching things on here because I think it's really important. If you're a dad, if you're a parent, if you're a mom, there are more access. Well, let me start this over. If you're a parent, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, there is more access now than ever to learn, to coach, to teach. You can Google anything and learn it. Truly. How to throw a better curveball, how to play catcher the right way, skills and drills to keep eye contact on the ball while it's coming in as a hitter, football, tackling drills. I pulled tons of stuff online on different ways to run counter and power and outside zone, coaching philosophies, right? Like you can be a really good coach because you're a great person, a great parent, a great mentor, but also now have the skills, not the old like, hey, motivational speaking. Now I can say, here are the 5 drills Christian McCaffrey does to get faster. Just do these for a year and see what happens. There was a dad the other day at the gym, and I saw him he had his son, right? It's the summer. His son was working out with him. He's probably 10, 12, 10. He's doing bounding drills that I did for the first time last year when I had a calf issue. He's doing bounding drills. Jack, we never did a bounding drill in Bucks and Montgomery County football. We just did high knees and we went and hit the bag. So I was super impressed by that. And I said, where'd you learn that, Dad? He's like, I just found it online. I just saw a lot of people that were explosive doing it. And I said, let me make my son do it. It really helps him. He said, now I have my whole youth team doing plyometrics and they love it. We have a great time. We do gymnastics. People swim, right? Like cross training, which I did today. So I thought it was really unique. Like, it's just like anybody. I want to start a podcast. Go to Google and type in, I want to start a podcast. What do I do? And everyone will tell you how they failed and how Jack and I we could write a novel on what we did well and what we've done bad. So I thought that was interesting, Jack. It's easier now to be a coach. You could do anything. You could build a damn house off YouTube. So shout out to the parents out there doing the research instead of just like being some of the coaches that I worked this real young in my career. They're just like screamer and yellers, you know. I didn't like those guys. Did you like those guys, Jack?
No, I got screamed at. I had a screamer when I was in 2nd grade. So I do what, 6, 7, Pop Warner football. Was hurting, and my dad was the assistant coach. I was sitting next to him for water, and he was like screaming at me to get back on the field as a 7-year-old. It was in the middle of Hell Week too. Did you ever have Hell Week, Pop Warner?
I didn't play till 6th grade, Jack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we used to have a hill we had to run up and down. This is like toddlers, like 6, 7-year-olds. It's incredible.
You're a beast. The great Jack Connell. I'm Colin Thompson. Special shout out to our friends at Boiron Arnicare. I put the gel on today on my hands, Jack, after a big lift and swim, and I was driving. It's like you forget about it. You don't like my hands because from playing they're hurting, whatever, low back pain right on there, and then Fudge Kitchen. That's not a pain producer, but it makes you happy. That's for sure, Jack. Saltwater taffy, chocolate covered pretzel, fudgekitchens.com. Anything else, buddy?
No, I think we touched on everything.
Little 30-minute kind of quick ones here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everyone has an awesome holiday. July 4th, celebrate with friends, family, get outside. And again, thanks to everyone who tunes into the show. Special thanks to our sponsors. Please support them, folks. Jack Connell, the best in the business. You are the best, Jack. You are the best. You know, and you're trustworthy. You're the only person on earth that's max trustworthy and max talented. You're the best, Jackie. See you guys.